Seoul was a city that never truly slept. It only changed masks. By day, it glittered with glass towers and polite smiles. By night, it revealed its true nature: neon lights, quiet sins, and deals made in shadows where no one asked questions and no one expected mercy. Kang Jun-sok ruled the night. His nightclub, Obsidian, stood in the heart of Gangnam like a palace built for darkness. From the outside, it looked like just another luxury venue. Inside, it was the center of an empire: money laundering, information trading, and silent power exchanges disguised as music and champagne. Jun-sok arrived the same way every night. Black car, tinted windows, two men stepping out first, then him, tall, calm, immaculately dressed. The kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice because the world already listened. But that night, something was different. As he stepped onto the sidewalk, his eyes caught a figure standing alone across the street. A woman, not waiting for anyone, not scrolling her phone, not smoking, just standing. She was black, her skin deep and rich under the streetlights, long dark hair falling naturally over her shoulders, simple clothes, nothing flashy, nothing desperate. She wasn't trying to get in, she was watching the building, watching him. Jun-sok paused. His men noticed immediately. "Boss," one of them said. He lifted a hand slightly. "Stay." Their eyes met. She didn't look away. Most people did. There was no fear in her expression. No hunger. No admiration. Only focus. Jun-sok walked toward her. Each step felt unnecessary, but something in his chest pulled him forward like a quiet gravity. "You've been standing here for 15 minutes, he said in Korean. "Why?" She blinked once, then answered in calm English. "Because this is where you are." His eyebrows lifted slightly. "Who are you?" "Zuri." No last name. No explanation. Just a name. Jun-sok studied her face. The symmetry. The stillness. The eyes that looked like they had already seen endings most people never reached. "You want something?" he asked. "Yes." "What?" She hesitated for the first time. "You." The word wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't playful. It sounded final. Jun-sok smiled faintly. The kind of smile that had made grown men sweat. "You don't even know me." Zuri's lips curved gently. "I know enough." Every instinct told him to leave. To signal his men. To let the night swallow this moment like all the others. Instead, he said, "Come inside." The door to Obsidian opened. And Zuri stepped into the world that had once destroyed her. Inside, the music pulsed like a heartbeat. Deep bass. Purple lights. Bodies moving in slow hypnotic rhythm. Zuri walked beside him, not impressed, not overwhelmed. She noticed everything. The men in suits who never danced. The women who watched him like prey. The way conversations died when he passed. She sat across from him in a private booth. Drinks arrived without being ordered. "Why me?" Jun-sok asked. Zuri traced her finger along the rim of the glass. "Because powerful men never expect the past to find them." He laughed softly. "You think you're my past?" "No," she said. "I think I'm your future." Something about that unsettled him. Not the words. The certainty. Hours passed. They talked about nothing and everything. She spoke about growing up between countries. Never staying long. Never belonging anywhere. He spoke about business. Never about family. Never about feelings. At 2:17 a.m., she looked at him and said, "You're lonely." He didn't deny it. At 2:45 a.m., he realized he didn't want her to leave. At 3:03 a.m., he asked for her number. She typed it into his phone. No fake name. No hesitation. Just Zuri. That night, Kang Jun-sok went home without realizing he had just invited his own ghost into his life. And Zuri walked into the rain, whispering softly to herself. Step 1. Kang Jun-sok did not dream. Not anymore. Sleep, for him, was a temporary shutdown, a necessary pause between calculations. When he closed his eyes, he didn't see memories or hopes. He saw numbers, maps, faces he no longer remembered the names of. But that night, he saw Zuri. Not her body. Not her smile. Her eyes. Watching him. The way they had across the street. Calm. Certain. As if she had already read the ending of his story. He woke before sunrise, irritated by something he couldn't classify. By 8 a.m., Junsok was back in his office on the 34th floor of a glass tower overlooking the Han River. This was where the real work happened. Obsidian was a mask. This building was the spine. His empire ran through import companies that never imported anything, real estate firms that existed only on paper, private security groups that operated like paramilitary units. He signed documents without reading them. Any issues? He asked his assistant. Everything is stable, she replied. Except one thing. She hesitated. A woman came yesterday asking for you. Junsok froze for half a second. Describe her. Black. Mid-20s. Calm. Said her name was Zuri. His chest tightened. She said she met you at Obsidian. I told her you don't accept unscheduled. Where is she now? She left a message. The assistant slid a small card across the desk. I don't like waiting. Z. For the first time in years, Kang Junsok laughed out loud. He called her. She answered on the second ring. You're already bored of me, she asked. You don't give people much choice, he replied. Good. I hate wasting time. Where are you? In your city. You said that yesterday, and it's still true. He paused. Dinner. A beat. Tonight. Another pause. I'll send a car. No, she said. I'll find you. That unsettled him more than anything else. Their second meeting was quieter. A private restaurant above the river. No music. No crowd. Just glass walls and candlelight. Zuri wore black again. Not seductive. Not modest. Just intentional. She looked like someone who had learned how to disappear. You're not afraid of me, Junsok said. Fear is only useful when it keeps you alive, she replied. Yours wouldn't help me. You don't know what I'm capable of. Zuri smiled faintly. I know exactly what you're capable of. The words hung in the air. He changed the subject. Why Seoul? Because it's full of ghosts, she said. And I collect them. He studied her. You speak like someone who's lost people. She met his gaze. Everyone has. That night, they walked along the river. She told him about moving between continents as a child. About never staying long enough to make friends. About learning how to read people before trusting them. He told her about growing up poor. About power being the only thing that ever made him feel safe. She didn't ask how he gained it. He didn't offer. And somehow, that made it intimate. Over the following weeks, Zuri became part of his routine. Not like the others. She didn't ask for gifts. Didn't post photos. Didn't introduce him to anyone. She existed only in his world. They drank coffee in silence. Watched old films in his penthouse. Talked about dreams neither of them believed in anymore. Junsok noticed small things. She always sat near exits. Always memorized rooms. Always flinched slightly at sirens. Once, he caught her staring at a scar on his hand. Where did you get that? She asked. Long time ago. She nodded slowly. I remember that night. He frowned. We've never met before. Zuri looked away. Some people leave marks without realizing it. His men noticed the change. You're distracted, one of them warned. You're softer, another joked. Junsok ignored them. For the first time, he felt something he hadn't felt since he was young. Not happiness. Peace. He didn't know that for Zuri, every quiet moment was torture. Every smile was borrowed. Every touch was a lie she was tired of carrying. At night, alone in borrowed apartments, she replayed memories she wished would fade. Fire. Shouting in Korean. Her father begging. Her mother not screaming at all. And one man standing in the doorway. Young. Cold. Watching everything burn. Kang Junsok. She whispered into the darkness. You don't recognize me. And for the first time since she arrived in Seoul, she wasn't sure she wanted him to. Zuri had learned how to disappear long before she ever came to Seoul. As a child, silence had been her first language. Not because she was shy, but because speaking often meant being noticed, and being noticed was dangerous. Her family moved constantly. Borders blurred together. Cities became temporary shelters rather than homes. But there was one place she remembered clearly. Not because it was beautiful. Because it was where everything ended. She had been 10 years old. The apartment was small, crowded with second-hand furniture and the smell of spices her mother insisted on cooking even when money was scarce. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Her father was on the phone, whispering urgently in English and French, switching languages whenever his voice shook. Zuri sat on the floor with her younger brother, drawing shapes on old paper. She remembered the knock. 3 sharp taps. Not polite. Not hesitant. Her father froze. Her mother didn't. She opened the door. And men entered. They spoke Korean. Zuri didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Cold. Efficient. Like people who were there to complete a task, not start a conversation. One of them asked for her father by name. Another looked around the apartment as if already memorizing where everything was. Her father raised his hands. He tried to speak. The gun went off. Not at him. At the wall beside Zuri's head. She screamed. Someone grabbed her brother. Her mother shouted in a language Zuri had never heard before. Then the fire started. Zuri didn't remember how long she hid. Under the table. Behind the couch. Inside herself. She remembered smoke. Her brother crying. Her mother's voice suddenly stopping. And one man standing in the doorway. Not shouting. Not rushing. Just watching. Young. Clean cut. Korean. His eyes met hers. He didn't look surprised. He didn't look cruel. He looked empty. That face never left her. Years passed. Zuri grew up inside that memory. She learned languages. Learned how to trace organizations. Learned how money moved through countries. Not because she wanted revenge at first, but because she wanted understanding. By 20, she had found the name. Kang Jun-sok. By 22, she knew everything. His businesses. His partners. His habits. By 25, she had booked a one-way ticket to Seoul. Not to kill him. Not yet. To look at him. To confirm that the man who burned her life still existed. He did. Standing outside Obsidian. Exactly where powerful men always stood. Surrounded. Untouchable. And somehow, lonely. Zuri's plan had been simple. Get close. Make him trust her. Make him feel what she lost. Then disappear after destroying his empire from the inside. But plans were easier when people stayed as villains. Jun-sok wasn't the monster she had imagined. He laughed quietly at bad jokes. He listened when she spoke. He remembered small details. Once, during a storm, she woke shaking. He didn't ask why. He just held her until the rain stopped. That was when the cracks began. One evening, she found herself standing in his penthouse kitchen, watching him cook. Kang Jun-sok feared by thousands struggling to make instant noodles. This is harder than it looks, he muttered. Zuri laughed before she could stop herself. It sounded real, and that terrified her more than anything else. Because for the first time, she wasn't pretending. But the past doesn't disappear just because the present feels gentle. Zuri still kept her gun hidden. Still visited the old districts. Still wrote his name in her notebook next to words like fire, blood, family, truth. And every night she asked herself the same question. If he doesn't remember me, does that make it better? Or worse? By the time spring arrived in Seoul, Kang Jun-sok had stopped pretending he wasn't in love. It wasn't dramatic. There were no sudden realizations or grand gestures. It happened quietly, the way dangerous things often do, through routines, through shared mornings, through late-night conversations, through the way Zuri's presence had begun to feel necessary. He noticed it the day she didn't answer his call. Not because he was worried, but because the silence felt wrong. He spent the afternoon distracted, replaying their last conversation in his mind. Had he said something? Had she pulled away? Had he imagined the closeness? When she finally called back, hours later, he didn't hide his relief. Where were you? He asked. Getting lost, she replied. You don't sound like someone who gets lost. I'm very good at it. That answer stayed with him. They began spending nights together. Not just physically, emotionally. Zuri told him about growing up without roots, about never trusting permanence, about how love always felt temporary to her, even when she wanted it to stay. Jun-sok told her about his father, a man who believed weakness was a disease, about how he learned early that feelings made people controllable. And yet here you are, Zuri said softly, feeling things anyway. He smiled. Don't tell anyone. It ruins my reputation. She rested her head against his chest, listening to a heartbeat that had once terrified entire rooms. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine a different ending, one where the fire never happened, one where her family was still alive, one where this man wasn't the reason she crossed oceans. But imagination had limits. Reality didn't. The first time Junsook said "I love you," it was an accident. They were standing on his balcony, watching the city breathe below them. He said it casually, like a fact he had just accepted. "I love you." Zuri froze. The words hit her harder than any weapon ever could. She didn't respond. Not because she didn't feel it, but because she felt it too much. "Say something," he said. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Of me, of what happens when people know you." He touched her face gently. "I've never been afraid of anyone leaving." She looked away. "I have." Zuri began to break. Not publicly. Not dramatically. In small ways. She forgot lines she had rehearsed. She missed surveillance meetings. She stopped writing in her notebook. The gun felt heavier. The revenge felt unnecessary. Love had done what years of planning never could. It made the past complicated. One night, she almost told him. They were lying in bed, the city quiet for once. "I need to tell you something," she said. He turned to her. "So do I." They stared at each other in the dark. She opened her mouth, closed it again. He waited. She didn't speak. Some truths destroy the moment they're spoken. She wasn't ready to destroy this one, but the universe has a way of ending things before people are prepared. A file appeared on Junsook's desk one morning. An old operation. An overseas job. A burned apartment. Names. Photos. A familiar face in a grainy image. A little black girl staring at the camera. Zuri. The photograph was old. The quality was poor. But the eyes were unmistakable. Zuri. Not the woman he knew now. A child. Frightened. Standing in front of a burned building. The report was dated 15 years ago. An overseas operation. Property seizure. Collateral casualties. He felt something shift inside his chest. Not guilt. Recognition. He remembered that night. Not clearly, but enough. The rain. The shouting. The fire that spread too fast. And a little girl hiding in the corner. He had told himself for years that it was necessary. That survival required sacrifices. But survival didn't usually come back with a name. That evening, he waited in his office. No guards. No weapons. No escape plan. Just the truth sitting between them like a loaded gun. Zuri arrived on time. She sensed it immediately. "You know," she said quietly. He nodded. "How long?" he asked. "Since the moment I saw you." Silence filled the room. Not heavy. Inevitable. "My family died because of you," she said. No anger. Just fact. "I came to take everything from you." He didn't defend himself. Didn't apologize. There were no words that could repair fire. Zuri reached into her coat and pulled out the gun. Her hand trembled. Not from fear. From exhaustion. "I planned this for half my life," she whispered. "But you weren't supposed to be human." Junsook looked at her. "Neither were you." Tears ran down her face. "Say you remember them." "I do." "Say you're sorry." "I am." The gun lowered. Not because she forgave him, but because she couldn't kill the man she loved. She placed the weapon on his desk. Then she walked out. Zuri disappeared that night. No phone. No passport. No goodbye. Junsook searched everywhere. Airports. Banks. Hospitals. Cities she once mentioned. Nothing. She erased herself the way only people who learned young know how. The gun remained on his desk. Unloaded. A reminder that revenge had chosen love, and lost both. Some people come into your life to heal you. Some come to destroy you. And some come to remind you that the past always collects its debts, even when it chooses mercy.